Okay, great. So now it's 12:32. I will start, and hopefully for the rest of the participants, they would be able to join us soon. I'm sure, just like yourself, for me, even during this period of time, I've been, trying to take advantage of the time that I'm working from home to, like attend some seminars and some online learning as well. So it's sometimes it's always a challenge to be logging in. So that's fine. But we will start. So hello everyone. Hi Ivan. Hi Nuru. Hi Josephine. Hello everyone. My name is Quinn, and welcome to the webinar for adapting to our current marketing climate, especially on the concept of exclusion marketing. And thank you Level 3 and Shiloh's Data for making this webinar happen. I'm aware that this is a part of a three-part series of digital marketing webinar. So I hope you managed to catch the first two, and I hope that with this particular webinar, it's going to be valuable for you as well to bring, to tie up all the concepts together. I was just sharing with you a little bit about myself, and I am new to this as well, as you can tell, to this webinar style. So if you have any feedback, please just let me know anytime, and we'll see how it goes, okay? So right now you should be seeing the screen. Let me just show you the slide, and maybe that would be easier. Okay, so now we will move right along to just a little bit of the oh good, fantastic. Now we just move right along to the housekeeping matters. Okay, very quickly. Will you be receiving the slides? Yes, absolutely. I will send you the slide after this session. And will there be Q&A? Of course. Just comment to me anytime during this session in the chat panel if you have any questions, or if you have anything that you would like to share about what I'm talking about, because I'm sure I would be able to learn from you as well, and we all can learn from each other, all right? But there will be dedicated time for Q&A later as well, so feel free to use the public chat panel. All right, and maybe just quickly before we start, if you would like to comment in the public chat as well, what do you do, or in which field you are in, whether it's marketing, it's admin, let me know what you do. That would be great. So I can look at the content and to see how that can be relevant to you. Nice. So I see that Chantal is from business development. And let's see.
Your screen sharing has been disconnected.
If someone else is sharing F&B, oh, interesting. Nice. F&B, great. Marketing in the travel industry, all right.
Your screen sharing has been disconnected.
All right, great. Kids fashion brand, fantastic. Okay, very good. SEO executive, very nice. All right, so I would keep that in mind that we actually have a very diverse audience, so that's great. Now, what are we talking about today is basically to look at, first of all, that right now, the marketing landscape is rapidly changing, as we all know. So how do we actually look at marketing messaging and targeting? And I understand that you are from different industries, and so this is something that touches all of us as well, whether we are a consumer or whether we are actually a marketer. All right. Can you guys hear me? Can you see my slide in the agenda slide? Yeah, we recommend that everyone uses Chrome. It seems to be the one that works with this particular program the best. So if you could switch to Chrome, that would be great. All right, fantastic. So yeah, so that's what we are talking about today. And And after talking about how we are adjusting in the marketing field to marketing messaging, we will be looking at um, the specific concept of exclusion marketing, which is what we practice a lot with our client. So basically what it means and how do we make it happen, more importantly. And after that, we would be going into talking about a real case study of my clients and I, what we are actually implementing for our client in FMCG, who is currently moving to fully digital in a matter of weeks. So that's going to be a very interesting real case studies. And then we are going to wrap up with some takeaway as well as the Q&A. Okay, so we would move right along. And just a reminder again, if you have any issue, question, just leave us a comment on public channel and I'll try my best to address it along the way. Okay, so we shall start. Now, why are we talking about this topic today? Adjusting to the current marketing climate is because obviously the marketing landscape right now is changing so much rapidly, right? Consumer behavior changes within a matter of months, right? People are forced to adopt some new digital tools for the first time. Just like me, just like myself, I am actually testing out a webinar functionality for the very first time. And I'm sure many of us over here are trying out, shopping, working, everything digitally for the very first time. So this is new to us, and consumer behavior and how they are forming new habits is changing every day. Some will stick to these new digital habits after we adjust to the new normal. Right, so brands are actually trying to really, learn the new consumer behavior and learn how to adapt to this. All right, if we just look at this study by Google, Think with Google, which is my favorite source to look at how consumer behavior is changing. If you look at what people are actually searching for, it's a lot more right now about assembling information and looking for the basic and not so much addressing our needs, our wants for the latest products. And this is the kind of general sentiment and tone that we should note. And as marketers, what does it mean to marketers? What does it even mean to be in marketing right now? Is that should we even be nudging customers to purchase, or should we move them through the conversion funnel right now? Or is it a time to create goodwill and positive branding for your brand? So this is the time for us to start thinking creatively about what resonates with people. How can we change the way that marketers have always been doing things, right? So with that, we are really having the reality of, digital transformation right now. It's not optional. This is the best time to see which brand is ready to move to digital and which brand is absolutely not ready. So, I'm a fan of Muji, and I was just looking at some product over the weekend, and I realized that they do not have an online sales channel at all. So you cannot make any purchase online so easily. You have to make an order through a Google form. And all the orders have to be more than $500 if you want to get free delivery. And there's not so much of a robust e-commerce system at all. So that's a very sad example of a brand, one of my favorite brands of products that is not really able to capture this new opportunity in the digital era to serve the customer on a digital channel. So in fact, for brand right now, digital transformation is really not optional. It has to be done, and it should have been done yesterday, right? And to add to the challenge as well, we realize that more important than ever, it is really important to keep customer retention. Because it's unlikely that you're going to be able to find a vast amount of new customers in the current marketing climate. And therefore, it's so important that your customers feel that they are good and they are well taken care of. Okay, so just a speed check so far. Let me know how the pace is. Let me know if everything is clear so far. If there's any issue, again, feel free to leave me some comments in the public channel and we will adapt. All right. Okay, so moving right along, customer retention is more important than ever before. So we look at how many agencies and brands are already scrambling to adjust the marketing messages to be relevant, to show empathy, and to focus less on driving sales and more on, creating an identity that the brand can relate to the customers. So that's what's happening. But that's just what you say to people. On top of that, who you talk to, in terms of targeting, also needs to be adapted to the current climate, right? So I just want to make a point here that better targeting is necessary not only because of the current pandemic and the changing consumer behavior. In fact, it has always been necessary for us, for marketers, for brands, for all departments, that somehow relates to a customer in a company to be able to be relevant, to say the right thing to customers at the right time. So it has always been necessary. But this need is highly accelerated, with an outsized importance right now, because in normal time, right, wrong targeting or irrelevant messages could simply be just an annoyance, right? But when at the current climate where consumers are the most emotional and vulnerable, persistent and irrelevant marketing could absolutely be leading to losing of the customer when the brands need them the most. All right. So before we go into talking about, who do we exclude? How do we become exclusive in our marketing messages? Let's talk about inclusive in the first place. Who do still want to hear from us right now? From you as the marketers, from you as someone who's doing business development, from you who, in whatever function you are, is still having a channel of engagement with the customer. First of all, your current customers, despite the current situation, is still moving online. Has always been your customer and have the need to feel that they are being taken care of. And the customers who are new to the digital channels, it's even a more tremendous opportunity, right, to provide them with the information and support, to show them, engage them, and hopefully your brand becomes even more sticky to them, to form a habit, to form a positive affinity to your brand through these new to digital customers. So this is in fact a really great opportunity to be capturing the mind share and the market share if we are doing this right. Okay. All right, so I see that some of you were having issues with Chrome browsers, but right now it's working okay. If some of you are still having those issues, try to close some of the pages. I guess a lot of people are logging in right now, so maybe the system has a little bit of issues. So sorry about that, but we'll make the slides and the recording available to you later, so no worries, okay? All right. So right now we have talked about who still want to hear from us, who to be inclusive to. Let's talk about being exclusive. What is exclusion marketing? How do we build a highly precisely targeted and use precision targeting to really talk to people only at the right time, to the right people and at the right place? So first of all, let's think about channel optimization. And this is, to be honest, conceptually, this is so simple and straightforward. So the devil is really in the details. What we are thinking about here is, if someone doesn't interact in a particular channel, we should obviously find a better channel to reach out to them. So that's clear, right? For example, if you're running an email campaign, you should absolutely remove those who subscribe but did not open, did not click through any links in the last two campaigns, right? Or if we are doing some push mobile notifications, if they don't get opened in the past couple of campaigns, remove these people from the audience of these campaigns as well. So this is just a very straightforward and very simple way to do it. And what I implement and advise to my clients is to make it even easier and more automatic. We should actually create and calculate the engagement score for all the channels, and create rules in the marketing automation so that when customers are moved into an audience, we should exclude them if they have an engagement score that is less than average. So do that automatically, so even marketers don't even have to think about it. So that's one way to do it in a very straightforward and automated way. Okay. The second way to think about exclusion in marketing is that we look at global exclusion. And this is something that is absolutely good in theory, but rarely practiced in real life. So if people are not going to buy, then you're just wasting marketing dollars to target these people. And how do you know certain customers are not going to be in the mindset to be buying or to be engaging with your marketing right now? Is if we have customers who have unresolved complaint cases with customer service, right? So by default, we exclude these customers from any campaigns that is pertaining to upsell or promo or cross-sell if there is a customer service cases that hasn't been resolved, if they are making some complaints either through email or through a call in to your customer service, right? So this is straightforward, but in implementation is not so easy. However, this can be done if the systems speak to each other, and the consumer journey and touch points across the system is unified into a cohesive story of where your customers are and where are they voicing their opinion. Okay, so that's how. Now, moving on to the next methodology for exclusion, we really want to think about ad performance. And I see Nelia is raising her hand. Is everything okay? Not sure if it's a network, the screen is dark. Can someone from level 3 team help to be showing the slide? All is good? Okay, great. So I am at the slide that says ad performance optimization. And this is, the next methodology that we should think about exclusion. So think about this. Not all the audience that you have should be going through the same journey, even though they are in the same, let's say, custom audience group. If they have the same interest, they are in the same custom audience group, either be in your Facebook ads or your Google ads campaign. Some of them might have made some purchase before, so they should be shown in a different ad set with some discount or no discount, based on their previous purchasing behavior, based on how much they spend and how loyal they are to their brand. And if you have customers who have been targeted before, click through the ads, go through the funnel, go through the website, but visit many times and never converted, then exclude them in the future from remarketing ads, because again, this is just a waste of marketing dollars to audience that is never converting, right? I would take this to an even further example. So this is, an opinion from a friend of ours who is a seasoned marketer, right? Who is again a victim of really lazy methods of retargeting. And for those who are not too familiar with retargeting, is in a very simple way to explain. It's basically targeting people who have, let's say, searched on your website on certain products, who maybe put some things on the cart, or who check out some product on your website, and you basically will retarget them, will serve them the ads about the same product in other places that they visit. Now, it has worked for so far for quite a few years now, but more and more we are noticing a lot of frustration and stories from consumers like you and me, where you are getting either irrelevant advertising messages, or messages that follows you around for a long time even after you have purchased something, and that is again a waste of your marketing dollars, right? And unfortunately, this is such a common example. So it also serves as a reminder that this particular brand or organization doesn't know their customer very well, right? So imagine if we do this differently. Instead of this guy searching for some courses that he, by the way, has already taken, and then still get advertisement about those courses. Instead, what if we cut the duration of the retargeting campaign through programmatic means? If we cut that to a lot shorter duration, like 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, depending on your product, depending on your services, because any longer than that, people would already have moved on, or people would already have purchased, right? So that's the first way to think about that. Another way to think about that is to focus on not offering this exact same product and services, but think about, can I offer them something, or can I introduce to them something that is relevant, ancillary products? For example, somebody searches for a TV. What about showing them some related products like a sound system, an adapter? That is something that's going to stay relevant, and that's going to allow your customers to feel a little bit more understood by the brand. Okay, so that's how we can think about basically how do we be more exclusive in our targeting efforts. So at this point, before I move on, let's do another check right now. How are you? Do you have any questions? Is the pace okay? Let me know in the comment panel if everything is okay. And if no questions, then we would move on. All right, so I presume that it's okay, all good. You can hear me well. That's great. That's good news. So we will move on to a little bit more practical part of the discussion, which is, so that's all good and well. We talk about so many concepts, so many ways to be exclusive in our targeting. But how exactly do you achieve that? And in fact, can you actually achieve this when we are all working from home, right? So let me show you what we have been working, what I have been working with my customers on to make this accessible to any marketing stack and to any marketing system. So like I said before, your systems absolutely need to speak with each other. All right, digital transformation is no longer optional. The cost of the siloed system is that you have fragmented consumer journey that's not sufficiently understood. And that is so costly when customers are changing their behavior so much and we are not able to really understand how it changes because your system is not connected at all. right? So what you see here is that consumers interact with different platforms like your mobile app, your social media, reviews, purchase on point of sale system, and they leave behavioral cues. So when all of these data points are integrated, what you get is a single customer view that tells a single unified story of your customer journey, and that's the power. That's a power that's behind any personalization effort. Personalization efforts such as, if we look at the next slide here, marketing automation, personalize the content based on their content affinity, personalize the customer care efforts, right? So every individual over here, as you can see, is engaged in a slightly different way that is personalized to them. But what is so special here is something that I have not seen a lot of clients doing, which is to close up the feedback loop. So if you look at the right side over here, everyone has a personalized customer experience, a different kind of message and frequency of communication that is personalized to them. But that's our assumption. We know if our assumption is right is by, again, collecting this behavioral information and using them as input for data integration. So you feed that feedback back into the system. That's why it's called feedback, right? You feed it back into the system so we can verify our hypothesis. And if we need to adjust our messaging, adjust the frequency, or adjust the audience accordingly, we have the data and information to do so. So that's very important, and that's not really done so frequently. Okay, what's next is also the ability to look at a comprehensive reporting of the customer information, customer behavior, and the single view of your customer in a view that's easy to see, and that is an overview that you can monitor, right? So it's all about personalization. And so if we look at what we have covered so far, it's really about personalization, getting feedback, and then we are able to personalize better. But I have a question for you. In fact, very importantly and very critically, do you actually own your customer data? Have you sought their permission to use that for personalization for them? Right? Have you learned their behavior on how they are interacting with your own digital assets? Or are you learning their behavior by relying on some third-party cookies in a data management platform, telling you that, let's say, your customers like concerts, your customers like fashion because of their browsing behavior history, which was collected like 6 months ago? So which one is it? Are we relying on our own first-party data, or are we relying on third-party data, right? So very good question, Patmaja. In today's third-party cookies policy, how can we collect customer behavior? I will go to it just very shortly. You are a little bit ahead of me already. So for those who are not too familiar with first-party and third-party, maybe we can go on to that a little bit. What is the problem with first-party data? And by first-party data, we are talking about data that a third party actually collect from your consumers cross-site. So they put trackers to collect consumer behavior, to know which sites they actually go to from one site to another site. And that is an issue because in today's privacy-focused era, where we have privacy-focused browsers like Firefox, like Brave, like Safari, they would absolutely block third-party cookies. And how these tracking prevention protocols work is that they would absolutely identify third-party data collector who has in the same domain, in the same server, collecting data from different domains, different websites. So I have a DMP that will collect data from an e-commerce site, from another news site, and I collect all user the same cookie so that I can track them along all their behavior. And that is absolutely being blocked by the browser tracking prevention. So what happens and what you need to focus on is first-party data that you own, that you yourself collect. And that answers your question, Padmaja. You have to start using your own server, collecting your consumer data on your own website, ask them for permission, tell your consumer, this is what I'm going to do with your data. I'm going to personalize your offer for you. I'm going to personalize your experience, and nobody else will have access to this server. That's the only way that you would be able to legally work with your customer data, is through first-party basis. All right. And what it means to marketers is that your own website tracking is the only way to move forward. Okay. So so far we have talked about connecting system. We have talked about closing the feedback loop and focusing on first party. Pearl here also asked me if Google Analytics is free for use. Yes, there is a free version of Google Analytics for you to use. That is a version where your customer, where you can look at general, website kind of aggregated statistics of your consumer website behavior, but you do not know who they are. You do not know the specific of how you are able to basically personalize the experience for them. If you want to be able to look at first-party data and look at your consumers on the website as individual, either you have to start collecting them yourself, or you use the Google Analytics 360, which costs a lot of money. So that's how it is. Okay. So privacy for your customers comes with a cost. All right. So so far we have talked about connecting system and closing the feedback loop and using first-party data, and all of this is for us to do precision marketing. And I would actually argue that now is actually the best time, right, to be exclusive about our marketing efforts, because right now it's the best time for us to be demanding more from our marketing stack. Right? Stop wasting marketing budget on audience that's not going to convert. Stop targeting the customers who may want to buy but not right now, right? And instead focus on customers who are moving into new digital channels. Use that as an opportunity to establish ourselves as a brand, as the go-to brand for customers who are new. And therefore, when things come back to our new normal, the new normal in air quote, right? You would create, this new habit for the customers who are going to stay around. Okay. So before I go into the case study of our clients, again, just a quick check-in. Looks that no more questions, so it looks like everything is okay and you can hear me. So I'm so glad that everyone is following okay. And let me know what you thought as well about what I have mentioned so far. If you disagree, that's even better, because I'd love to hear from people from different backgrounds on what your thoughts are on digital marketing and targeting. All right. Okay, so let's talk about a client of mine, a favorite client that I'm currently working with. This is a global FMCG in Indonesia. So as you know, Indonesia is a place with very populous, a very big population, almost 270 million people. And this is a global FMCG, so they absolutely have very strong physical retail strategy. Anything from the small mom and pop shops to convenience store chains, to even a sales force in person, going from person to person to sell and to promote. So very robust retail channel. And imagine that in the current climate, that's not so easy for them to activate those channels, right? In fact, 2 months back, in the beginning part of the year, we had the goal to acquire 2 million new customers through digital channels by June. So that's just the first half of the year. And a more important goal is also to retain the current market as we develop the omni-channel strategy. So that was defined, the beginning of the year. That's not long ago, in fact, but it feels like a century ago, right? So what happens is that obviously things have changed. So let me just show you what we planned in terms of the digital infrastructure in the beginning of the year, right? We had a mix of digital channels, which is over here, a few brand websites for which we are collecting first-party data. We have, DMP, email marketing, TV marketing, e-commerce. So a lot of the typical digital channels. And of course, we plan for retail channels, which in fact is supposed to be a big part of customer generation and retention. So all of that needs to go to data integration to be built into a single view of customers and then activated. Now, what happened just a few weeks later, so in the beginning of April, what we can see is, first of all, obviously, these retail channels are rendered basically useless. We can't touch on those, especially with the current work from home and stay at home mandate. So what the team was able to do very quickly was to ramp up on the digital channels. To make up for the retail channels, we added 2 additional campaigns to raise awareness and to drive traffic to the e-commerce channels. Those are built up in a couple of weeks. And of course, we start collecting first-party web data from there as well. And the rest of the journey is the same. We integrate data and we understand the customer journey and we activate the data. Okay. So what does the result look like right now? And mind you that this is reporting the story as it develops, right? We are not even in June of 2020 yet. It's just April right now. So things can still change. But preliminary, what we are seeing right now is that instead of 2 million consumers, we are in fact seeing already 6 million new unique consumers on digital channels. So that's amazing, right? This is purely through digital channels. You can preserve the market share. In fact, that's even more important. And how do we know that we are preserving the market share is because we are collecting first-party data. We know out of the consumers who are digital, how many of them are consumers who are moving from retail to digital, and how many of them are absolutely new consumers that we have never seen before in any channels, right? And because of the nature of digital channels, we are able to draw really deep insight into the consumer's digital behavior, and that that facilitates, that allows for even things like advertising, lookalike audience, content affinity, right? So if I could reflect on the success factor, what allows us to be able to do this is absolutely based on the fact that the company, the FMCG, even before February of this year, already had a very robust digital infrastructure, a very data-driven reporting structure. So it's already in place, and we were just adding on digital channels into a very robust system that we are building upon. So that helps, obviously, and of course the ability to work in a very agile way. Okay. Question on the case study, can you elaborate more about robust first-party data strategy? If we look at at what we had planned in February of 2020, these channels, even in 2019, we already started collecting customer data to build the single consumer view of the customer from some of these channels. So in February, when they started the brand loyalty website, in fact, they started 3 websites at the same time. brand loyalty, we were collecting first-party data, which means that we were hosting the server, we were getting our own customer data, and therefore we have the permission, we have the data to recognize when someone visits the web, is it our current customer that's already recognized somewhere? And all of this data goes into enriching the single view of customer. So that's what I mean by a robust first-party data strategy, that we start with the first-party data, and any additional thing like third-party data is viewed as basically an enrichment, a good to have, rather than a starting point to understand our consumer. And that's really necessary in a very highly competitive environment, because first-party data you can purchase, which means your competitor can purchase as well, and it's a leveler, right? You're competing on the same one. But first-party data, you own of your own customer. Nobody else has that, and that's absolutely your unique point in engaging your consumer and in retaining, preserving your market share. Okay. For first-party data, does the company necessarily have to host website and app on your own server? You do not need to host your website on your own server. You can use whichever service provider that you trust, but the data from the website, right? So hosting the website means that everything from the from the content on your website, the content management system, so that's hosting the website. So that can be done by a vendor that you trust. But the consumer data from that website, for example, which device ID goes to visit your website, from which IP location, what did they check, which pages did they view, how much did they spend on the website, those things you have to host on your own server. And that's what it means by first-party data, because your visitors going to the website is generating the data about themselves every single moment, and that's the data about your customer that you need to host. Okay. All right, I can see that there's a lot of interest in first-party data, and I'm so sorry if I'm not able to really address everything, but you will have my contact. If you would like to find out more about what's the implication, how to do it, I'm happy to share, some good practice from the industry. So connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can discuss more. Okay. So just to wrap it up, just before the Q&A session, if you could have just a few things to take away from the session, it would absolutely be something that obviously a lot of people are interested in asking about, which is utilize your first-party data. That is your gem, that is your resources in the current digital economy. All right, and of course, closing up the feedback loops, making sure that how customer interacts with the personalization effort is also being assessed and being used to further fine-tune the way that we are personalizing to them. Okay, connecting all the system, integrating all of them, making decisions really based on data, which is a lot easier now when everything is digital. It's just about making sure that your system talk to each other. And finally, with all of that connected system and data-driven decision-making framework, we are able to really adapt to changing consumer behavior, even if that means that consumer behavior changes from one week to another. We can adjust accordingly, we can be agile, and we can absolutely be always relevant to them. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that there's some new ideas that you can take away from here to take back to your team. And by the way, one thing that I haven't mentioned in the case study is that that I'm based in Singapore. Our client is based in Indonesia, obviously. Our team is half based in Singapore and in Europe. And all of this achievement was made possible because we already are digital first. So, that makes it easier. All right. So that's it. Thank you so much for your attention. Now maybe we can go into Q&A. I will leave the floor to the public chat channel. I've tried to answer some questions as we go along the way. So if you have any additional questions, let me know in the public channel. And if you're too shy, or if you would like to ask some questions that's specific to your current situation, to your current marketing stack, feel free to reach out to me through email. You can find me through LinkedIn as well. So, looking forward to hearing from you. All right, so while we are waiting for more questions, let me just pull up and look at any questions that I have missed out so far. What is the success rate of first-party data collection? Well, first of all, I think that you have to define what is your objective of first-party data collection. For example, in the case of our client, the objective of that is to be able to identify web visitors and to connect them back to the system that we already have. So web visitors, when they come to the website to collect, to visit the website, can we, based on information that we collect from them, understand that maybe this person is someone who has purchased before, or someone that has visited the website many times but have not purchased before. So that is the objective. And if basing on that objective, then our goal should be to identify as much as possible, and it really depends on how many of the consumers you already have in the in the database. So customers going to the website, 100% of them, we can tell either they are a current customers or they are not a current customer. So we can say that the success rate is 100%, right? So that really depends on the objective. If your objective to collect first-party data is something else, then really depending on that, then we would want to then we would want to assess differently. I think that collecting first-party customer data is not in itself the end goal. So we want to think about it as it's the foundation of all your marketing efforts. So without that, it's like there is a big gap in between all of your marketing system. So so maybe it's more helpful to think about it this way. Okay. Since all right, so I'm addressing back to a question by Pearl. Since China banned Google Access, it will auto exclude China-based e-buyers. So what you are saying here is that your with your website, because if China bans Google Access, you're not able to use Google Analytics to actually analyze the web behavior of your consumer on your website. And that is fine, because if you are collecting your own customer data using a type of tracker, then what you get is basically raw data from all the customer transaction, and you can analyze that through any data analytics tools out there, any visualization tool. So it's not about which tool do we use to do the analytics or to visualize or to prepare the report. It's about who collects the data, who has the access to the data. And if you own the website, you should always have the ability to access your data. Okay. To Pham, to further my question, is there a way to tie third-party data to first-party data? It's possible. It really depends on what data you have available. I give you an example. For one of our clients, third-party data means that, for example, you use a tool like the Trade Desk, where you are actually putting your customers into audiences that are being sent to different campaigns creatives, right? And what you get in terms of the feedback is, their interaction, the impression level based on the cookies. That's third-party data. Okay, first-party data is you have your own ID for each of the customer that you recognize on the website. So there is a process to sync that to look at which first-party ID corresponds to which third-party cookie. So technically, there is a way to do that, and that's being we do implement that for our clients. So absolutely, you can do that. It really depends on the quality of the data that you own. Okay. What are the key trending consumer behavior shifts you are seeing from COVID after the effects? Well, I'm not an authority in all the consumer behavior, right? But I think some of the things that we are starting to see, and especially with the market that we are working with, for example, Indonesia, Philippines, where the population is really big and people are at home a lot, is that people are adapting to digital in a really fast way. And that's good. We are actually collecting a lot of information from them. I think that it's not a good idea to make the assumption that just because it's the current economic downturn that people are not engaging, people would not like to purchase. In fact, if you get your marketing right, there are always people who maybe after the whole after the whole COVID situation would like to treat themselves to a little bit of luxury, to different things. So they are even looking at like aspirational kind of purchases that they can do after the whole situation. So that's possible as well. Other things that we are seeing from in terms of consumer behavior is that brands, I think it's not a good way to just focus on selling, but like, for example, our client in Indonesia, in the additional campaigns, we actually have games, we have concerts, virtual concerts. So those are the things that is it's for me is excellent because it taps into engagement with the customer. It gives them some kind of relief in the current situation, and that's absolutely a very good idea to engage the customer and not just nudge them to buy all the time. Okay. Whew. All right, there are so many questions. Thank you for the interaction, and I hope that has been helpful for you. So we are just coming up to the end of the session. So thank you so much for your attention. I know that it has been a little bit challenging in the beginning. We will make it up to you by sending you the slides and the recording, and I'll be happy to talk to you more if you are still curious about some things after the end of the session. All right, thank you everyone.